All right, thanks for getting that started, Crystal. Start being confident. All right. So it is 6:07. We're gonna start the planning and zoning meeting. Members, sorry, what's the date today? It is, May 10th. Members present are Bronwyn Gooch, Sean Emmett, and Cameron Spenlow. Wyatt is not here yet, and neither is, Kent Peterson.
Kent said he would be
They
late.
were stuck in traffic, I think, both of them. On the way back, so. They don't want to get here. So any conflict of interest, Bronwyn,
No.
Sean? No. Cameron, no. Review and approval of minutes. I did not see any changes on those minutes. Did anybody else have comments on the minutes from April?
Okay, so work now.
Yeah.
Okay, I did make, a couple of this punctuation changes, in the document, and then there's just 3 or 4 highlighted spots where I added a word. And that's about it, but, other than those changes, I guess if you're ready for a motion, I'll make a motion that we approve the, minutes from April's meeting, planning and zoning meeting with those, suggested changes.
I got a motion to recommend approval of those changes. Sean made the motion, Bronwyn seconded the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Push the button long enough.
I think so. I think mine is working.
It's good.
Nope. I'm just loud.
Just hold the button a little longer.
All right. Okay.
I did have one comment on those. I noticed in one of those,
Working.
yeah. In one of those, issues we had discussed, there was like multiple motions that had been made and found. I was a little disappointed to see that those were not all written into the minutes. That would have been much more exciting to read.
I don't know, I like the credibility boost there, get rid of the.
Commissioner comments. Sean, do you have anything?
I do actually have some suggestions for our planning and zoning that, I'd like to propose. And we want to save those for the end again, like we have before.
Wait till everyone gets here.
And hopefully we get to them, just some ideas that we just need to go over as a commission and see if, as far as documents that we've actually approved and moved on, and what we need to do about those. But we can do it later if you'd like.
Or Kent just joined the meeting.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we have a point of order and we move commissioner comments at the end of the meeting. Second.
Second.
Cameron made the motion, Bronwyn seconded the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Open forum, 2 minutes per speaker. This is for anything that's not already on the agenda.
Good, I want to say one thing, Lauren Campbell from Rio de Sion. I just hope that the commission and the town council starts planning for an alternate access to the bridge that we have. There needs to be something developed in the future. And I know town council's reviewing budget next week, but somewhere that's gotta be on your agenda. It might be, after 80 homes or 90 homes or 100 homes, but please put it on your radar. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Lauren, we're actually gonna put that bridge right down at the end of the street.
Okay, all right. We can talk about that.
There was another committee that is in charge of those capital facilities.
Go ahead, sir, sorry.
Rock Bills, Rio de Sion. Lauren stole my thunder here, but a lot of neighbors in Rio de Sion, it's this, the second access is the issue. You know, with the finishing of the developments with Quail Mesa, we're potentially at 104 homes. We were always under the impression the fire district had the jurisdiction over it. We wrote a letter to the fire district and got a nice response back. Spoke with the marshal, I believe his name is John, I forget his last name, my apologies. And he informed me that it goes back to the town and the state to make a determination for a public safety issue like that, which was surprising to myself and some of the residents when I shared that information. So to back what Lauren said, it would truly be appreciated. I mean, it's gotta be addressed at some point, walking bridge, something, if something were to happen. Been back there since '09. Been a couple of occasions, we couldn't get home. This last winter didn't happen, thankfully. I'm not just talking about the water, there's other issues there. Not everybody has a Jeep and a four-wheel drive that can go out back at this point. So, I'm glad to hear that, you know, Lauren brought it up and would like that to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think the first record was originally planned for.
Where was that?
Right down the street.
Not the street.
Yeah.
The other street is.
Right down past
Right
it.
down past your house.
You just have to repeat yourself. Anyone else for open forum, sorry. All right. We'll move on, no, let's just be, seriously about that, when we were discussing our road access, we have discussed locations for a bridge. I was gonna say it to my commissioner comments, but we'll be finalizing up our access plan that we will present to the town council, and it does include a location for another bridge. So, thanks.
Where?
Don't you remember that discussion?
You just scared me.
Yes. It wasn't in front of your house.
I remember it just.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion. To close the public meeting, open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Sean made the motion. Do I have a second? Second. Kent second the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so now we're into our public hearing. This is the time for the public to speak. We'll start with item number 1. This is an ordinance amending and restating sections 1 through 18 of chapter 16, conditions and conditional uses of Lulu to better establish the CUP process within the town and to add the term adversely affected party and joint utility board to section 2.12. Any public comment on this one at this time? All right, we'll move on to number 2. This is the proposed subdivision, Quail Mesa subdivision for Jeff Lee located at the -2-1-26-4421 South Rio de Zone. So we'll take public comment on that preliminary plat at this time. No, we do have a letter here. Go ahead, Lauren.
You have the 41-page letter.
No, it's only 3 pages.
All right. My comments are much briefer tonight. We've had some very good meetings with Reed Lerner, the prospective purchaser of the property, and the documents that were turned in really made a lot of things more clear. So we really appreciate that. That's really how it's supposed to work. And I appreciate the planning commission asking for that before you make a decision. There's a couple things I want to make the council aware of. One of the suggestions that Reed came up with was changing the plot plan, which would actually give them more homes. It would raise their number of lots from 20 homes to 22. So it seems like that would be a good move for the developer. And it would also move the homes away from the cliff edge. So I would urge that the planning commission take a look at that plan and consider that in your approval. The other thing that the septic feasibility study showed was that the leach lines were adjacent to the Rio de Sion properties, the whole lake, the primary lines and the back lines. And the septic feasibility study also indicated that as an alternative location, in fact, it was listed as the first location, the septic leach lines could be over in the wash. And we strongly urge the planning commission to require that. It's my understanding that Mr. Lee had already agreed to that exception.
Hey, Lauren, are you going to read your whole letter?
Now I'm just gonna go over 4 points. The open area, we don't want trailers and stuff on the hillside. We want it to remain in its current state, and that's another reason we hope that the septic leach line will be moved to the other location, because we don't want that whole hillside disturbed with 4-foot width trenches. And I couldn't figure out how many, but it's gonna be a lot. The access road has already been resolved, I believe. And the last thing that I want to point out is occupancy limits. I know this was discussed last month, but I hope the planning commission comes up with some kind of a reasonable standard that protects the investment of short-term rental owners, but also protects the interests of the neighbors. So I really urge you to look at doing some type of occupancy limit when you approve any type of short-term rental overlay. So those are my comments for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. Anyone else? All right, if there's no one else, I'll entertain a motion. Ron makes the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
John seconded the motion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. So just a point of order, we'll move, item number 1 down to, we'll move it to number 3. Then we'll just move everything up. So we'll move item number 1 down to the bottom. And, I'll make that motion, make that point of order. Do I have a second?
Motion to move item 1.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Second.
Aaron made the motion, Ken seconded the motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we'll move on to item number 2. And this is the Quail Mesa subdivision from Jeff Lee. The discussion on this.
I have one question. On the plan, regarding the septic system or the sewer, I thought they were putting in a sewer system that was,
They are.
so we're using septic lines then?
So those systems still require leaching because you still have to get rid of the water.
Okay.
I'm not sure what system he's using, but a lot of times that's just a drip.
So I looked at that with him a month ago and it's back behind the development.
The treatment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so the system lines will be back there as well, is that your understanding?
Some of the he has a couple if you want the maps on your thing, but the lines. Some of the lines are proposed to go on that hillside, which is there, right?
Because as I understood it, then, the,
That doesn't show the septic wall. Oh, yeah,
the one dotted line,
no, I don't.
I don't have it on.
I believe the septic lines are in the wastewater treatment study.
Yeah.
That just shows the location of the plant.
They have to go to the study in your. Okay. Thanks. But some of them are slated to be on that hillside, right? Right where Warren said.
On the back side,
Front.
over, you don't have a problem. So we don't see one.
Yes.
Because I thought, I didn't think there was the topsoils and soils to take it around the lots.
They're not on top. Not on top.
Oh,
In that study, it's a little more place right here. On this hillside, which is below the top.
and have those then been approved by, engineers?
Yeah,
Qualified?
that's what that study is for.
Yeah, it had to go to a class 3. Environmental scientist that designs wastewater treatment plants. But it took forever to do because there's not a whole lot of them that would work on projects like this because most residential areas don't have wastewater treatment. So it was done by really the only guy in southern Utah right now that will do it.
Thanks.
But yeah, that's his job.
Yeah, what Lauren is asking is that we move those lines, and that's not really our prerogative, move those lines. That would be the landowner's prerogative, where to put his treatment system that's within the requirements.
Stay to meet the technical codes.
Yes,
The counties.
yeah, well, state or anything.
Looks like the soil is important on that. Even better than expected.
I wouldn't know
Oh, it's really interesting reading that.
personally, I prefer the lines not to be in the wash, so.
Yeah,
I think that the only other concern that was noted that kind of dealt with our stuff from this letter. Lauren did send a letter that's on the record, was the grading and erosion control plan, but if you look at the construction plans, that's all there, including the drainage ditches, the discharge area with all the slopes, including the slopes of the road. So, Lauren, if you want to look at that, I can show you that on these plans afterwards, but it is there. The drainage water plans are here. And then kind of all this other stuff on your list. Unfortunately, even though some of it's kind of interesting and good stuff that I should consider, it's not things that we're able to do as a recommending body or at the town, really, without the ordinances to justify those things.
Many of those issues were addressed in the CCNRs, which were very well done. I was impressed with those. It talked about heights, it talked about, size of building. Whether you could have boats and RVs and stuff like that outside of a particular area, on the lot. We covered everything, STR, all the STR issues, and then it also included the whole chapter 60. Just for reference for
This one reference.
that, and I thought that was a great idea. Just include it right there with the CCNR, so people don't have any way to say I didn't see it.
So what you're saying, it's not a place for me to live, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, I would not want to live in a place like that.
What did you
Too many
do?
restrictions.
Did you have a question,
Well,
bro?
I have some, first I have some questions here.
Okay,
One of my big issues is not big, my big issues, I think an issue that it's really relevant is that we're thorough enough. I think we've taken quite a bit of criticism and one of our item agendas, agenda items, I'm sorry, really reflects that as far as we're getting. That's what I'm saying. So, I do have some, and maybe you guys know the answer. So. I think it's the geotech study, it's an older one, it's not new stuff, but talks about 15 buildable acres. Developable acres. That's what the study says in really clear language, so I can't figure out how this is, what, especially I can't figure out how they're only using 22 because,
we allow for clustering.
right, but developable, that means you can only use 15 acres of that to develop it at all, correct? Like you can't have anything on the stuff that's not developed, that's not safe. I know, I just don't
That
understand.
doesn't mean you can't have anything on
What
it,
does
you
that
can't
mean?
have a build, you can't have a house on it.
A building, but see the difference of a building or a house, does it include access road, and this is where I need clarification, does it include
No.
access roads, does it include septic? That's just the house outline,
Yeah, it's just the building.
just the buildings, but it doesn't say building acres, it says developable, so why would it be safe for a swimming pool, I mean. You know, explain, I just,
But-
what mitigate, what
So-
shows me that this is within that
That-
15 acre?
So that slope that they're running the road up, that's not developable in the sense that you can't take that area and make it safe to build a house on, or to put a building on, or to turn
But
it into
is that
something.
developable?
But it's still safe to put a road on.
Is it?
Yeah,
What is the-
that's why he
is
has
this-
all that study.
No, no, no,
The-
I know
the
that, I
geo-
know
That's why
that.
they have that.
No, I understand. Geotech and all that. I'm just saying that's the part that's got me confused with the lots themselves. I mean, what prevents people from putting things in places? If the lots themselves are more than 15 acres, then what's preventing people from? I mean, I
Because
don't
the
understand.
backside, the one side of those lots.
Yeah, no, I can
25
see
feet,
the smoke.
25 feet from the edge
But it's
is
still-
undevelopable.
But it's still,
If you look at the outline of the red, the setback to get on the.
setback.
is that,
If you,
I got more than 15 acres, that's what I'm worried about. When I added it up, it was
I mean,
quite a bit more.
if you were to take the outline of the red, the
Yeah.
entire top of that is about 18 acres. And if you were to take off that barrier, the 50 foot all the way around, that's where you shave off that. The difference there.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Cameron, I understand what you're saying, but I just don't understand this. I mean, here we saying that the math didn't work out for me, so, but again,
Yes. Well,
I get the visual, I understand what he's saying, I understand what you're saying, but when I added it up, it didn't equal that, so that's why I'm
Well, that-
confused, but I'll have to go over my numbers.
But- that's just because it doesn't list in there the numbers that you're looking for,
Well, I tried to do it.
right? Cause I can't figure
This
it out.
area, well, it took a while,
I don't know what this section is to take off of this, to take the number off.
well, actually,
Oh,
Yeah.
geomat.
yeah.
Geomat may not be exactly accurate.
Well, I hope not, because if so, we're way over.
If you took his map and went and looked at it, then.
Well, no, not the map, I used his map, just the. Okay.
Oh, you use the dimensions.
So,
Uh,
anyway, that's one of my. The other,
So that's where you're from?
please, yeah,
The lots include undevelopable acreage. You're allowed to sell
the lot.
undevelopable acreage.
Because we don't protect that, we got it.
Yeah, so the notice on it, you get up 29 total acres.
So I get that, but even the part with the setback, I do understand that part. I'm just saying, even with the setbacks, when I did the math in my math. But we're still more acreage that they're actually having. So you did this red line, the map, with the map that I did. It's still more than 15 developable acres, and all I was just trying to do is figure out how to. I mean, which part is safe, which part isn't. The study said there's only 15 acres that are safe. Which ones are they? Where is it? So I'm sorry to be a jerk, but we have been getting a lot of crap for not being thorough, and I just don't, I'm not willing to, you know, not know, if that makes any sense. Well,
I don't.
okay, so the other thing I'm wondering about is another, the study said that you guys need to have a body politic that, like, sponsor to give you a will serve letter for your septic, for your sewage treatment. You don't have that from the town, you don't have it from Ash Creek, and I don't know anywhere else to get that.
That comes through with the state through Ash Creek and someone that they would.
But Ash Creek hasn't given you one yet, we can't approve a prelim without it, right?
You can't do that till final plat. I can't get anything done because it's just a comment, it's just a feasibility study. For final plat, you have to have that. So right now, I don't.
Where does it say will serve letter in?
It doesn't say the
Chapter
word will
six.
serve letter, it says that it has to be approved by an authority.
That's the feasibility study. And that's in our online. So we were just talking about where the leach lines go.
What it talks about right now is a provision for sewage disposal, water supply, stormwater management, flood control. Then you have to have a study that does that, but there is not, you can't get a body politic to approve anything because it's preliminary plat. It's not a work in progress. It's not something you either build or body.
So so for final plat, you'll have a will serve letter from either the town council or from Ash Creek, because when you end up with more, you can get it from just you alone as a single entity, you can get it from Virgin Town, right?
I don't know about
But
that.
Ash Creek will have to do it if it's multiple investors, and multiple entities, right?
I don't know, honestly, because I haven't done
Hmm,
It's the size of the system and the state.
It's most likely to go.
Well, I actually-
It will be the state.
it'll be Ash Creek.
Ash.
Yeah, it'll be Ash Creek. Yeah. And are they gonna go with, will Ash Creek go with what you have, or do they have to redesign it?
Well, if they say no, then it'll have to be redesigned.
That's also why I use the level 3 engineer that works with
They
that.
know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to, especially when it comes to wastewater.
Right,
It took a year almost to get the wastewater done because you had to go to the right person and I got put in the queue.
you. Keep it in mind.
Okay.
So another thing that was brought up that I missed, I need to ask you. Did we end up with, and I can tell, because I don't know how to tell this for sure, but where, there's a turnaround, you do your turnaround for fire? Is that it?
Right at the very end, is that
Right
what
there.
it's at?
Originally, we had the road going through the BLM because that was what the
Yeah.
engineer said was the easiest access. And after meeting, we went and met with Hurricane Valley Fire Authority.
Is that
They-
right at the edge of the cliff? Is that right at the edge of the cliff?
No,
So that's BLM, that's just.
Oh, that's
fine.
the other, right, okay, gotcha.
And after meeting with them, they gave me two options. They said I could do a I could do a turnaround or a hammerhead, like several different mechanisms. Or I could get permission from the BLM, punch it through and then grade an area. And instead of dealing with the BLM and kind of getting involved with that, we just built the cul-de-sac turnaround. This is what Hurricane Valley Fire Authority told us to do. We changed the design of the road based off of their ask.
Well, so, okay, sorry to bring up all these things, but these are things we need to talk about, right?
You
So,
want me to come up?
I don't know, I don't know who we're supposed to do this, Cameron's in charge of the etiquette. But if we have, here's the other thing that I guess I forgot to ask about the buildable acres. If we have 15, you guys are only saying for 15 buildable acres, you've got 22 houses. do you have enough open space to hit? Do we have enough open space?
Yes, because there's 30 acres total,
There's 35.6 acres.
35 acres total. So,
But does
Our-
open space mean to our open
no,
space?
no, they're,
Because.
all that is required for a subdivision is that they have 1 acre per home.
Right, but open space has to be undevelopable land.
If they choose to have open space, it will have to be undevelopable. So, yes, they will have to do a deed restriction for open space up to their number of homes. So that is so that they can't build a house on that later,
Okay, so,
but
yeah,
that's all they need to do, right? 'Cause like Rio Design did the same thing. Most of Rio Design's lots are only half-acre lots. And then they have a big section of open space that is mostly along the river. And in the center a little bit too, I think. Which is their open space to give them their total of 1 acre per house.
yes, yeah, I understand that, it's still a question of what's developed and what's not, like, that's still there, but something we can discuss further.
Well, what I'm saying, the developable part doesn't matter when we're doing the,
Actually, if you look at the open space thing, I think,
so open space things for some things like commercial, it does, but not for,
all right. I'll
not for
check on that.
subdivision. If you read the subdivision ordinance, it says
But
1,
yeah, oh,
and, yeah. The reason why they do that is because they want to protect
I
areas.
understand the reasons, I'm just talking about whether the law hits people, I don't really know.
Well, but yes, there will have to be some sort of governing document or deed restrictions that does require the open space up to the number of houses that they have be deed restricted.
Right, no, this is more, this question is more, for us, as far as how clear are we on, how thorough we have to be on the preliminary plat, because I think one thing that we've done, I mean,
It's right here.
I know,
That's
I
We have to follow. You want to do that, yeah.
Actually, it's,
But there should be, it should be, I'm just worried that we're sending too many things to contingencies, like, oh, they get it, they get their, it says clearly that it needs to
Clearly
very
what?
closely match the.
so read it, like, go ahead and read it. And are you reading the rule or are you reading the paper?
That's so big right now, I'm not reading.
Like, if you wanna read it and we can review, I have no problem with it.
No,
Because I
just
sat
wanna
down,
make sure they're
because I,
reading that.
because I sat down, when did I talk to, like a week ago? And after she put all these documents in here, and I went down, not through this thing, because this thing isn't even correct. I went through the ordinance and I said, does he have this one? Does he have this one? Does he have this one? Yes, he has this. Yes, he has the sewer. Yes, he has
This
this.
is right out of the ordinance.
This is not word for word right out of the ordinance. You can go look.
I just copied it off mine, well,
This checklist,
that's not mine,
One of the
that's
checklists,
not mine,
there's 2 checklists, let me
That's
clarify,
not mine.
there's 2 checklists that were floating around.
yeah.
One from the town attorney from years ago, which is really
That's
not very clear.
No, the one I just pulled it right.
There's a preliminary plat checklist that comes from Lulu.
so
that
which,
comes just right.
okay, you printed the ordinance. I thought this was the checklist. My apologies. I thought this was the checklist from the.
Why are you saying? This one's for me.
Because she handed it to me and said that you had her print it. That's
Oh,
one
yeah,
thing.
maybe we
Yeah.
printed too close to the same thing.
That's why I'm saying this is for you, just because she handed it to me.
Crystal,
And she said, Ron would have me print this for you.
anyway, so.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's go through it.
Which-
This is part of my discussion item.
Which item, what I'm asking you, which item on here is not here?
What I'm saying, no, it's not an item, it is in the directions for preliminary plat, and for us approving it, it says that you need to have everything for the preliminary plat, and it needs to closely match And then on the final plat approval, it says that the preliminary plat should have very closely matched. I'm just concerned, my concern here, we'll cut to that, is that we're putting too many things through on contingency and not doing a thorough preliminary plat. And the reason I'm worried about that. Well, we
Okay.
put that there. Okay.
Well, can you name me, like, is there a recent project that we put contingencies on that?
Everything, almost every project that I have sat through, we rubber stamp the preliminary plat and send it through with, well, they'll give us all this at the end. I just wanna make sure, having that's on the front end, that we are doing our job, which is, there's a lot of people that think we don't. I know.
Is he missing any of these items?
It depends on whether you can use, our argument says that we may use some old submissions. But there's been so many changes, I'm not exactly sure if we have, I mean, I'm sorry, Jeff, but I just don't know if we have done a letter of the law, because it says we may use some old submissions, but do those things.
Okay,
in that-
Brown,
Don't get frustrated, Cameron,
No.
this is stuff we should have been doing all along.
Brown. This is the list. Okay, this is the
Would
ordinance.
you wanna go piece by piece?
If you want to go piece by piece, we can go piece by piece. I'm asking you, you said you've done this research. I'm asking.
What I'm saying is.
Bronwyn, hold on, let me finish. We're going piece by piece. We're discussing this item. We're discussing 12 Mesa subdivision, not anything else. On his item, you've gone down through this ordinance. These are all the requirements. Is he missing any of these items? Or are any of these items not completed to your satisfaction?
No, it's not my satisfaction, you don't have to worry about him, it's whether we're doing our due justice.
I know, but it's your interpretation of the law right now.
Well,
So I
brought
just
up
need
the
to know,
question
so that we
about-
can discuss
I
it.
brought up the question about the sewer, the septic, because
Okay.
that's in the list.
The sewer, okay,
The
good.
sewer and septic.
All right, what-
We
which
just
number?
established that one of the contingencies we need to have is that it goes through.
Which number is that? Which letter is that?
Oh, you got this one, right? So I told you.
Don't be nervous.
Well, don't be mean.
I'm not. Kind of correct.
So we have,
Under studies.
yes, understood.
Wastewater study.
Okay,
No, we don't have, okay, wait, that doesn't have a complete list of the studies needed.
Study. right, well, pull it up. Pull up the ordinance on your computer.
I don't know everything before. I'll follow up with you. So we don't need to be labor on this. This is the kind of, this is why we need to have work meetings before we have public meetings
This is our,
like this.
If
You
you,
know, our work meeting, this is why we all need to sit down and get.
well, we passed on an ordinance that a group of engineers and others will go through this stuff and then they will give us a report. And so,
Will give us a report, but that's what I.
so today,
Wait,
let's go through it.
Should we have it already?
Okay, let's go through it right now. We don't need to discuss it.
Sorry,
What we're
I'm
doing.
done. This isn't too much about you, this is about the process that we're not doing right.
We've been doing the process right, that's why Jeff took so long to get it to us.
I'm saying, well, it sounds like he's done a lot of work, he's done a ton of work.
So you
Not
can
much
also ask
as far as us.
our zoning administrator if he's, any questions to him about some of this stuff, even though he just walked out.
I know, he's frustrated.
Okay, so let's ask those questions, this is the time we get to do it,
Yeah,
this is the
that's what I'm
process.
doing.
So please ask the questions,
So.
not theorize about it, let's go through it, one by one, does he have the name of the subdivision?
Okay, so that actually, believe it or not, is a stupid question. Some of these, for me, I mean, it's a dumb question to ask, but there are several.
It's not, he has the name of
There's
the
several study, okay, subdivision, you can put that. But keep going down the name, sorry, I'm jumping ahead because you can, you know.
so go, if you have concerns about one, let's just,
I have a
Let's-
question
if
about
you-
our process.
if you
There are
have-
several studies that have different company names on them for different, like as if it were for a different project, and I just need to know if we can count that.
different company
Like
names.
one of them is Trees Ranch and one of them is, I don't know if that matters, but that's what I'm asking.
So,
It's just a billing.
but are you,
Is your company, but is it different?
are you looking at the building or
I'm looking at what the
does
names
the
that are on the
property
study.
match?
going down the list, look at the names of the studies, and they are,
This is what we're doing right now.
No, there's studies too.
there's studies too.
And then the studies themselves are.
Like they're all for the address.
They have to be for this, otherwise, why would he?
No, you're not, now you're not understanding.
Okay, let's go through this, please. I don't wanna be here all night. Be laboring.
I just wanna go through the ones that she has concern about.
You just wanna go through,
Yeah,
okay.
we might have to go through all of them if you're concerned about the look of whether or
I'm
not.
not, look, I'm concerned about whether we're doing our job, and
And I believe we are. Let's continue with actually focusing on his subdivision right now. And not whether or not we missed something.
well.
Let's see what happens.
So how close the leach lines are, and all of that is gonna be covered with ash creek, is that what you're saying?
How close, like where?
To other properties, we have something out ordinance that talks about how close,
That's governed by state ordinance, it's 15 feet from property lines,
I saw the 15 feet demarcation on the.
15 feet from property
I
side.
don't know that ordinance, okay, so I'm gonna.
That's not our-
This is our problem, well, no, but we have something that contradicts that, so I'll note that for myself, we have to cover that right now, but there is a contradiction,
Where is that?
don't go there, it'll take too.
It says follow state law.
It-
And then. Because it has to.
That's
It
great,
has to
and that,
follow state law.
whichever one. Don't close your eyes and do no look, and
Because I would like to move forward, so
well,
please continue.
why don't you show me that let's do this opposite, why don't you show me that everything we need is, go down the list and show me that everything we've got, we have.
So, okay, we'll just go down through the list and let's.
Okay, so
Cause I'm not trying to cause a problem, I'm trying to make sure we cover everything.
I know, but if there's a problem list, it's going to be shorter than the entire list.
Let's just go through the list. please.
But we can't go through the list.
So no one else had any other concerns?
No, I had comments on stuff, but
Okay,
as
let's
far
do
as
that.
concerns,
So,
so we're waiting for you.
so
I don't wanna scrap with you guys, I just wanna
So-
make sure we're doing it right.
if you go into your menu, right here, right? If you go into the folder with all of his stuff,
Right here.
you can pull up the first one that's on there, right? The first one on there is the drainage.
Every single thing.
Okay. Okay, but you're asking me to go through this list and tell you that it's all there, but then when I start to go through the list, you tell me, I've already read all this.
Well, it's not that.
You just were you were saying you need to open up the thing, and I told you.
I said, so if you or
How's that? Okay, go ahead.
anyone,
Go
if
ahead.
you open
Listen,
that
show
one,
me. I'll listen.
I'm showing you where it's at. I'm showing us where it's at, everyone where it's at,
Everywhere.
since we're gonna go through the entire list. Right, so that's the drainage study, right there. Quail Mesa drainage study. This thing is 1, 2, 3 pages long. It shows it for Quail Mesa subdivision, it has the storm stuff, it has the existing conditions, it has proposed conditions. It shows the outline on there of the buildable area with the shelf stability, all that right there, okay? So that covers the wastewater, the storm water and drainage study listed in 3.
So are all the conditions, so are we bound? So as for final,
It doesn't-
listen to my question. So is it for preliminary plat approval or final plat approval that we need to make sure that that everything in any study is complied with?
I don't know what you mean by comply with.
Why did he do this? If there's suggestions in there that, for instance, and I can't see very well.
It's preliminary for a reason.
Well, no, hold
If
on,
there's stuff we
hold on,
can't
John, wait a minute, John, go ahead. Go ahead, no, continue, you're
This is
about,
the debate we should be having. I hate using,
no, this is what these forums are for, all of our discussions should be public.
well, no, not private, just not wasting people's time,
No,
but.
no one's, everyone here can leave whenever they want. Except for.
I just, I mean, so every, like, the stability from the study I read, we've got questions on, like, stability and whether the erosion is gonna be a problem with the kind of rock that's there and all those things, and I just need you to show me what says, okay, even though it's not stable, why can they build on it?
Oh, okay, so it is not our job to take this study, figure out what it means,
No,
and then implement it and make sure that it gets implemented.
no,
Our job is to make sure the study is there. It's the town engineer's job to make sure that all the stuff that's in the study gets done. Right?
but how do well, then what are we approving the platform?
So we're approving this plat saying, hey, we have this plat. We have the engineering for this plat. Here you go, staff. Make sure that this plat is done properly. I don't, because I can't. I read this study and I go, yeah, well, sounds great to me. I don't know what the hell. Right?
Which
That's,
is why the city council is trying to take,
the city council doesn't know what the hell either. They're lawyers.
you know, that.
They know the big jargon at the bottom, right? That's what we have a city engineer
The
for.
point is, if we don't know if it's really safe. What,
So.
okay, let's,
we do-
look, we're going way far, and we
We
spoke.
do know the safe stuff. We do know the safe stuff. We do know that they can build on those 15
So,
acres.
we know where all the water, we know on the 15 acres, but we don't know if it's 15 acres, we can't know for sure, so we just need to what, put in a provision that says we need to make sure it stays on the state 15 acres.
Well, but they have their,
Provision of our recommendation.
but their plans show the approved, they show the line, they show the buildable area.
Okay.
Like the plans show the
So
buildable
so
area.
you just go with the contradiction from the one study that says it's not, and the study that other study they got that shows buildable acreage.
I did not see a contradiction in studies.
Okay, so we've got,
Read them all, but. And memorize them, but I review
well,
them.
that's what you expect me to have done, memorize.
No.
I haven't. Look, I just want, so.
Carmen,
Yeah,
So it's like,
comment?
please,
Um,
sorry, Cameron.
no, you're fine.
I appreciate where you're coming from,
Mhm.
because I believe that there are challenges as I speak to the body politic in the county, Bash Creek and the county and the state, with regards to where our whole town is, not just as taken place, with regards to our ability to take care of waste and water needs and things like that. So we worry that we're putting our neck out, and we're not the experts here. You and I have to rely on the experts, that they're out there, the engineers and the county and the fire department and the special service district and water conservation department district are doing their job. And I think the job that we as a planning and zoning have to follow are the guidelines that are set up. Whether they're perfect yet, probably not. Are they good? Probably they are. And I think our job is to look at a preliminary plat, because I'm not an engineer and I'm not a geologist. And
But how do we make, go ahead.
so where I'm coming to is, I assume you've looked at the plans that are, and the reports that are part of this plat that are rolled up over there. I haven't even got the information as to where I can look it down, but I don't want to look at it. I know that there are people who have looked at them. And I know there are people who have developed them and paid for them. With qualified licensed people. Our job is to see that that is all done. And I think by our ordinances and our requirements as a commission, that's been done. And our job here is to approve or not approve the plat and push it forward so they can move forward
Okay, so you,
where they're going.
thank you.
They're going to bump into wastewater people, wastewater engineers, our planning and zoning administrators sitting over there. They're gonna bump into all of this, as does Gene Corrali bump into it. And they're all going to work out, and come before us if there's one they can't work out. So, I appreciate, Mr. Lee's, procedure and moving forward on this long project. I have serious issues about not just this project, but about how we as a commission, excuse me for lecturing here, if I sound like that. My wife says that I really sound like I know something, which I really don't. And she knows that I really don't, and that she doesn't like me to lecture her. But, I think that we as a commission, we need to see that the procedure is proper, which at this point, this is the procedure. And this isn't the venue that we're gonna vet that out, I don't think.
No, it shouldn't be.
And we have people that are talking to us to say, hey, I'm the person talking to me, or the people talking to me is supposed to be me. I wanna know what Mr. Lee is going to build, or is he building or just developing the lots? Is it just the lots you're doing on this plat, or are you doing some of the building as well and design?
Definitely. For clarity, and I think I've stated this, I'm under contract to sell the lots. I normally wouldn't disclose, but the gentlemen that are buying it are sitting here, and I'm disclosing that because they've been meeting with Rio Design and others to try to come up with a best of plan. No one likes to have a development in their backyard, but to try to come up with something. They've had several meetings now and walked around and talked about what they're gonna do. My intent is not to develop or build or do anything. My intent right now, I'm under contract, is to sell it. The original reason I bought the lot for isn't gonna happen. It was made eligible for highway resort. That's not happening, so I am going to sell it. I don't intend to do anything other than sell it. But to sell it, because of the current way that the markets are, I have to have a preliminary plat and I have to have a short-term overlay. Those are just things that anyone that's getting money now has to have entitlements, even if it's preliminary to be done. And so this whole process, I'm trying to get this project to the point that they can buy it. And then they will be the stewards over this and they are gonna have tight control over the development of it and the design. They're designing it. I will not. And Bronwyn, just, this might help. If you take the entire Mesa top, it's 18 acres. And I need to have to do this correctly.
Right,
I did a 50-foot setback roughly around that 18 acres. And if you see the number there, and again, this isn't, that's 14.23 acres. And so when the slope study talks about 15 developable acres, there's 18 acres on top that are way under the 30-degree slope. They recommended a 50-foot set, and they recommended it. They say it's not required. What was required is a 33, but they recommended 50. We put everything to 50. When you go to 50, that leaves the 15 acres. That's what they're speaking about. Though that is your building envelope for homes. And roads don't include that. It's just for homes.
so I really appreciate you being really upfront, because actually that makes it so I can clarify what I'm saying. I'm not there.
And then just for clarity, I just did a search for where it said trees because I know you're confused. The only report of all my documents that says that is the slope study. which was prepared for Quell Mesa subdivision and the parcel.
Right.
It just has, it
There's
just,
several, you have several different LCCs that you're doing this under.
and it should be Hitty Kansas going, they just put the wrong one up there.
All right, so.
But it was done for the parcel number.
And that
and
was
the
a
Mesa.
procedural question, not one for you, so sorry about that.
And I don't think that the billing has any impact on, as long as the study's for the right address,
Right, see, Chuck,
yeah.
I'm glad you wrote it, Frank. This makes me able to frame my concerns in a lot better way. What I'm concerned with is that we're making a proper recommendation, given the fact that you guys are actually the ones that are gonna be developing this. We need to make sure that anything that's different in the law, like say with Ash Creek, because you're gonna be like multiple developers, and you're gonna have to do something different with the subject that you would have to do,
It's gonna be level 3 no matter what.
level 3, no matter what.
And that, because you guys have talked about subject quite a bit, that is an insane level of treatment. It's so clean.
So you guys,
You're gonna get without water. It is.
no, I know, but I'm just making sure, what I wanna do is make sure that, my only aim here is to make sure that we have on your preliminary plat, which is gonna transfer from you guys to you guys, you guys.
We're beholden to what he submits,
Yeah.
right? And that's why we've been.
We worked together with the whole process, like lot adjustments, everything else.
Right, but he doesn't have to have the same level, and you guys are saying you went to the highest level anyway.
You have to.
I already went to the highest level, but
So so all I care about here is that we make sure to make the correct recommendations so that it's the same for both people. So I understand.
they have to follow, right now, it's not them, it's me. I'm the one that has the preliminary plat, and if they buy this, they're beholden to what you guys passed as preliminary plat based off what I present. What they wanna work out with Rio Design or anything else, that has nothing to do with what's happening tonight. But whatever you guys pass,
So-
they have to follow it. That's not a concern for you guys then painting it. They're the ones that have to follow that, or they'll never get final plat approval.
Which is what I just wanna make sure we're really upfront with. If there's things that are gonna make final plat that are gonna be different, I just wanna make sure they know what they are because of the confusion that we've had.
I think they're.
Yeah, the only changes that we proposed, ones that we've talked to Rio de Sion about, which would be considered minor adjustments to road and lot position, same number of lots, and would be considered favorable by everyone who's negatively affected.
And I know you guys, I know it's high stakes, so I don't mean to prefer with that. I'm sorry about that, but procedurally and legally, we haven't been careful enough, so.
So, like I said, I'm just trying to help clarify a little.
Well, and it makes it, I didn't explain myself well enough because I
That's
didn't
fine.
want to get into big debate, so condensing it made it sound like but my point is to make sure we have recommendations that carry over.
There was one piece of paper, which I know was called out in the 41-page letter. I was having email problems with Crystal and it submitted one product, just a soil sample, soil study that came for Red Coyote. And that was just mainly we're having,
Yeah.
we could not get attachments to come through. Every study that's in the folder deals with that parcel, whatever it is, B2, 221, 61. Every parcel deals with Quell Mesa. And, you know, from when we started this process, you guys asked for the bridge study. You asked for a slope study, you asked for a traffic study, you asked for, the soil stuff, geotech, you did one of the storm, the discharge, everything, and every engineer, the fire, even down to the fire authority, which isn't required this step, has come back that this is feasible, and they all are, you know, we're at a point where everyone's kind of said, you could build this, and so, to me, that's all I can do now is turn that all in, you know, and again, I don't know about it, but we paid a lot of money to have people that are supposed to, and they don't want to sign off because of the liability on them. So like when I see a slope study and they says 33 people, we recommend 50, we put the setback to 50,
Right,
so.
and then, so, can I ask one more thing? So, and also, is everybody aware of the process for, like, the short-term rental overlay zone, that doesn't come until final plat, you know that, right? Like, you don't get that until.
Yes.
Okay, as long as you, all right, good. So, as long as we're making the right recommendations, Karen, that's what I was trying to get at, is have we covered enough? What needs to happen will be there for them on final plat, no matter.
I really don't, I don't even understand what you're asking.
Well, if you wouldn't put a sleep there, my God. All right, go ahead.
All I know is that I reviewed the ordinance, I reviewed the materials that he's presented. he checked the box on everything that he was asked. for.
No, I agree, the submissions are in, it's a matter of whether we have read them enough and know enough to make the proper recommendations to get for final approval, and I guess the city council can be the select for that and catch it, but it seems like that's something we should be doing, that's all. Sorry, I didn't explain myself better earlier.
Well, welcome Wyatt Lee, he was only like
Why, you were smart.
half hour late. Sorry, it's like maybe he has a job or something, sorry. Sure. Is there anything else that you wanna go over?
Not in this part of the meeting, later I'm gonna just break you guys down. So what's next? Like, what are recommendations, are we just like giving a thumbs up?
We're in the
Where do you-
discussion. Whatever you guys wanna do, we're in discussion.
You just took a chill pill, that might be too much, you know? It's too much. Don't chill out, I'm done. For now.
Anyone have anything else you wanna discuss on 12 Mesa subdivision? No?
Well,
Why, you wanna go over anything? No.
It's been pretty thorough last month. We had 2 items to submit, and that was it, so over the time that he's put it in, we can get everything over and everything.
oh, no.
Those last 2 things were submitted, it was properly done, the application's been completed. This list more than done. They've worked with the neighbors, which they weren't required to do, they just had to be.
Oh, no,
required to follow.
nothing, by the way, this.
And this is only,
Hold on, Sean's talking.
this is preliminary plat, final plat. We can make adjustments, this is the time when the council can do that, if you have suggestions, you could suggest those now, that's.
Oh, no, yes, that's one of our procedural, we need to let people know, upfront. We can't decide the final plan. But that's okay, won't worry about
Well,
that.
I'm saying, you can do it now, if you have suggestions over and beyond what he's done now, now is that time. And recommend it on, because it's not a.
So my biggest concern is like in the sewer and the drainage, and they address that, and sounds like we'll make sure they're aware, and we'll make sure they're aware in writing that, you know, they have to be sponsored by body politics or whatever level 3 thing they've got, all that, so we got that covered. That was a big thing.
It was all in.
So I have heard, can I just say one thing, one more thing? Are you done? Are you done?
I'm gonna be done, because.
All right. Thank you. Anyway, there's been a lot of, really nice things, really complimentary things said about the effort she made. She talked to people and to like interface, just so you know, that went over, that calmed a lot of angst and anger and frustration. Just wanted to acknowledge that, because that was a lot of hours. Sorry, Sean. I'm sorry.
What else? Then someone's gonna have to make a motion.
Like to make a motion to approve.
Recommend approval. We're only recommending.
Recommendation to approve.
Ken's made the motion to recommend approval of 12 Mesa subdivision preliminary plat. Do I have a second? Second. Wyatt seconded that motion. Any further discussion?
I'm trembling.
No further discussion. We'll vote. Sean?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Cameron, yes. Wyatt? Yes. Bronwyn?
Yes,
Motion passes. Unanimous vote. Item number 3, discussion and recommendation to approve or deny lot line adjustment, 66/65 Rio design. Did everyone have a chance to look at that? lot line adjustment. It's in your file.
Who's requesting this? Property owner?
You guys remember right, it was, they did the lot line adjustment, it was 2 months back.
What was your deal?
The same one, and then, they ended up applying for a variance, and during that discussion with the attorney, he recommended this is the best way with our ordinances and how it should be with the subdivision and stuff, and so they redone everything, reapplied, and this is what it got.
And the two, property owners are.
He's the same, it's the same property.
Okay,
So it has to do with the facing, the amount of property facing the street, so we have to make an adjustment in his fence to be able to give sufficient frontage on the property owner.
okay.
So do you move the temporary?
People are so difficult.
That's. Lines.
Yeah. That's true, but the law line.
For the, this recommend.
So the only reason that the law we're worried about was the frontage on the street. Yeah, probably try to be a minimum amount. Or if we have a minimum frontage.
So they met the law and met our recommendations. There's really not much more discussion than that. I would make a motion that we recommend approval of this line adjustment.
A second,
You guys aren't recommending, you guys are.
There's discussion and recommendation.
Sorry,
That's why I said.
it's not recommendation, you guys are voting, it's a yes or no. This is not the council.
I wasn't sure because it seems like everything has to go to the town
So it's
council.
not, it came from Keith, so you know.
That's a comment about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're, as a second.
I will amend my motion that we approve this lot line adjustment.
second,
Sean made the motion to approve the lot line adjustment for lot 66 to 65 in the early design. Ken seconded that motion. We'll vote from
yes,
Wyatt, Cameron, yes. Ken,
yes,
Sean,
Yes.
sorry, I was thinking I forgot to do any further discussion, but it's too late. Here, it's done. Okay. So moved. Do I have to do any paperwork on that?
And now they'll have to record it that way.
Now you're doing it.
Okay. And now we will go back to item number 1. An ordinance amending restating sections 1 through 18 of chapter 16. So this is the one that we made a recommendation on last month. We sent it to town council with our recommendation. There was 3 items added to the ordinance. Amendments made by Paul. So Paul stated three amendments. One of those amendments was large enough that it had to come back to us for public hearing. That amendment was that the approval authority for a conditional use permit would no longer be the Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission would now make a recommendation and this town council would approve it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay. So we'll have any discussion on this item. There was no public comments on it, by the way.
Sean, I'm not these no words that you can have. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm sure you.
I'm gonna bang the gavel and speak over to him.
Oh, good, this is better. Good zapper, exactly.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Sean, go ahead.
I'm highly surprised that our council member who, previous job was a lawyer, did not take into account that, CUPs are an administrative function and that, we are an administratively appointed, commission, therefore, I don't know why they're taking that authority back, they have the right to. But it kind of defeats the whole purpose of us as a commission. And it's the recommendations he has, I totally am against. And it completely, the way he proposed them, I'm glad it ended up coming back to us. But defeats the whole purpose of writing laws where we recommend things and then town council gets them and then just makes an amendment. That they were the ones who created the whole document, gave it to us, we made our recommendation. They should have passed that recommendation as is, and then made further amendments if that's how they wanted to do it. This is not how that happened. These recommendations, though, I wouldn't have approved it anyways. They're taking those out from the beginning and made that explanation.
Thanks, Sean. Anyone else have any comments on this?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
No, mhm.
Go ahead,
I'm
Brian.
waiting in line.
Okay.
I was
Why?
gonna say I agree with Sean, I think that, it feels like there's an attempt to make planning and zoning as, irrelevant as possible. And I don't care for that, I feel like planning and zoning has a function, part of that function is to not inundate town council with administrative issues.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't have any comment.
No comments? Ron, go ahead.
Thanks. What time you got? Just kidding.
All mine.
No. So I feel like it's absolutely a vote of no confidence for, planning and zoning. Sadly, I think we've earned it in some ways.
Okay.
Don't get mad. Not you personally. But I do think, what I wish that they would have passed, I wish they would have passed what we came up with last time, because I think it gave the proper amount of accountability, gave us the proper amount of information to make, to fill a role the way that it was intended. So I'm sad that they sent it back like this, but I understand why. So I hope that I think we have to do a little bit better job to have their confidence, you know, I don't think we should, I don't really want to have an elected panel, you know, directly accountable for conditional use permit, doesn't make any sense, and like, you know, there's talk about, I don't know, it's administrative, it should stay there, we don't have a planning department, we have us, we should function more like that, and we can find.
Thanks, Ron. Anyone else? No one wants to repeat?
No.
Okay.
I will say that I believe, the attorney, as he's so titled, has a lot of experience. It's not here, he's had that experience, but he does have a lot of experience. And I'm sure his motives and reasons for this, were well meant. So that's all I have to say.
No, thanks, Ken.
Yeah.
So I've served on both ways, when the planning and zoning commission has made conditional use recommendations, and I've been on the planning and zoning has been able to approve. During that time, we've approved one conditional use permit. And that's it, one. The problems, here's the problems with the way. The problem with having an elected political body making administrative decisions is it's prone to corruption and it's prone to public clamor. The legislature has the ability to fix the laws to be in a way that they prefer them and to govern the town in the way that they wish to have it governed. And it's very difficult for a body that is used to being a legislative body to then put on a different cap and to become an administrative body. Because those two things are very different and they have to be handled different. So because elected officials are elected, it makes it hard to do that. So I oppose it for those reasons. I also oppose it on the reasons that conditional use permits should be done in a timely manner. And having them go through a complete review process and then a second review and approval process by a second body, which meets at different times, can make the process not short, make it very long. If you look at some of the recommended changes that we sent up last year to town council, because they had so much on their plate and they were doing so many other things with budgets and projects and all those other things, those recommendations, some of them took 8-9 months to make it through. I'm not saying that's how CUPs would go, but just showing that it does extend the process time for anyone trying to get a conditional use permit. So because of those two reasons, I oppose the changes that were, the amendments that were made to the ordinance that we recommended last month. And I told this to, make these amendments, Paul. I told this to Paul at the meeting too. There's no, this document was created by the lawyer with collaboration between Paul and Jean, the lawyer, and on one occasion myself. So, I find it very lazy that Paul waited until town council meeting to submit these, these amendments. I just find that lazy. No, and I'm sure he's a busy guy, so I understand that things happen. It just seems like not the place to do it. But that's why I'm not elected, so. Any further discussion on this item? Go ahead,
I have a
Brian.
question, so we just recommend or deny this, but can we recommend that they just, I mean, I think the process we set out is good. Before, we set it up with them, with it going to the utility committee, then to us, and then they would maintain their role of the appeal.
They're not the role of the appeal in this,
What?
they're not. The appeal authority.
No, I saw that it's announced, there's Hill Authority from St. George. I know.
A lawyer.
So,
I don't know.
so what are our choices?
So we're just gonna make a recommendation, if that's a recommendation that we should make, we can.
I'm asking you what.
If I can make a comment.
Sean?
The way it, was written last month, the town can make that. If they don't like something that we made a decision on, they can do the appeal. That was one of the things I noticed in that mention last month, is that they don't like it, then they are the ones who can say, we don't like this, we're gonna appeal it to us, and then they can make the still decision. So it's in there already for them, to override the decisions we make, so let's allow. The system should at least allow us to make a decision, and according to that, in our handbook, when the planning commission is acting as land use authority, it has little discretion. They're acting in an administrative capacity. The landowner's application either complies with the ordinance or it does not. Doesn't give us any leniency. It has to comply or not. An individual planning commission opinion of the merits of a proposed land use application is not relevant to the process. Any individual commissioner's opinion and any of the public's comments and concerns are relevant only to the extent that they speak to issue of compliance with the existing law.
Right,
And that's our job to do that, and I think that's appropriate. And that's why we set it up that way originally. The lawyer rewrote it and kept that intent in there. And then that makes the elected officials as the appeal authority of those. And again, it's not gonna happen very often, but that's going to come to us. These, some of the big projects, right? But we were trying to arrange it so some of the little projects don't have to also go through us.
well, wait, this doesn't address level one and level.
No,
There's not level one and level.
Sean is speaking about the past, so don't
Okay.
pass.
I just mentioned about the past,
Sean is speaking about the past, sorry.
Okay,
but we took the intent of that and kept us as the body who decides those administrative things, and all we're doing is 5 people are saying, yes, you met the law, and that's our job in this.
well, our other job is to make sure the ordinances are clear enough that we can do that,
Yes.
yeah.
Make a motion.
I feel like this is just another way for the town officials in one way or the other, if they don't like a project, to drag it out for as long as they possibly can, even if it does comply with the ordinances. Because by making go through a complete review process, like Cameron said, it can drag it out for months and months. And that's been used recently as a way to hold up projects that comply with the ordinances but aren't in favor of. If that makes sense.
Good. Want to make a motion? And-
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
do you want to make a motion
Yeah,
that
make a
we format what we want to say there?
I'll make a motion that we recommend denial of the proposed amendments, made in town council by Paul, and keep the original draft language.
I'll second that.
So Cameron made the motion, Sean seconded the motion. Any further discussion? We'll vote. Bronwyn,
Yeah.
what?
Yes, I think we should deny it.
Okay, Bronwyn said yes,
I think we should
Wyatt?
deny it.
Yes.
Cameron, yes. Kent?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Did you get that exact wording down of that? Cause I didn't write it. Did you get my motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Let it. Sorry. My bad. All right, so now we're gonna move on to commissioner comments. Down to the bottom. Bronwyn, any additional comments? Project you'd like to work on? Wait. You are working on a project. You're working on chapter 60 project, right? Okay. Anything else?
What's that development?
Cliff side? Cliff side or cliff top?
Side.
Cliff top, hillside, not a bad thing. Anything else?
Well, I already gave you most of my love work.
I have a comment.
Kent,
Take the pressure off you so you can. be
Thank
back.
you, thanks for staying there.
Just a congratulations on coordination that went on, between the important parties here on your development. And look forward to seeing what your plans are and what you do up there with regards to that and the commission. I'm concerned about what we want to have our masons look like, because they're gonna receive a lot of pressure, in my opinion. And being in the next decade or so of private lands that are, I mean, there is open space protection on both sides by federal landowners. But I do think we need to make some decisions about what we want the masons that are within the city boundaries to adhere to, i.e. maybe special heights, where we have a river to cross, where the transportation corridors are gonna be, crossing the river, and how far up the sides of mountains, you know, we wanna go and things like that. So it's just something down the road that I would like to see studied.
thanks, Kent. What else? Any commissioner comments?
Got two quick things. I noticed that there's a proclivity for somebody to leave planning and zoning items off of the town council work agenda and town council agenda, particularly its items, I think that I have produced. And I don't know if anyone's noticed that as well, but, for example, definitions, we finished in September. I was recommended that we do it as a whole document. I did not like that idea, and now we kind of see how that results of that have happened. So I would suggest that maybe we take the lead on that once again, and we re-recommend smaller portions of that, and maybe try to actually get this done by the end of the year, instead of waiting a whole. How long's it been? Okay, too long, okay, but it's even been on the agenda. Or on a work meeting, I think it's been more than 6 months. Yet when we don't put something on an agenda, all of a sudden it's taken back from us and worked on at the town council level. They have the ability to do that. We don't really, and I'm not too concerned about the definitions, except for this big project, and we worked really hard on it as a team. And I thought that that was important, that those should be pushed forward, and again, maybe we do the legwork for them again, because it seems like a lot of the town council time is spent trying to rehash the same things that we've hashed over. I wish more of them maybe could see what we do in our meetings, so they wouldn't have to rehash the same arguments. So just making a suggestion that maybe we start doing that. Again, at least put them on our agenda to start talking about them, have public hearing on those items, so they can add to more comment to them, just as a suggestion. I've noticed the lighting ordinance thing got left off and still is not on there, as well. And that was something that just, it was real simple. It wasn't changing anything, it was actually adding to it and making it a better document. Yet it's still missing from the agendas as well. So I know it's not high priority for, person creating those documents, the agendas, but we need to somehow highlight them, somehow do that. So maybe we should revisit some of those documents, re-recommend them and push them on. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I just don't know if it's gonna do you any good to re-recommend.
So I think that they have made it through. What did they make it to?
Hell,
L,
hell,
L or N?
hell.
But that's the bulk of them. There's not a lot of definitions after that, so, and then the lighting has only been there for one.
But it's still not on the work meeting agenda, but yet some of the other ones that we did pass the same night are on there.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna note it.
So is it just being forgotten? I don't know, but if we need to somehow highlight those in some way, if you guys got better ideas.
I can send them. I can speak to them at the next meeting.
Yeah, I can't go to the town council meetings on Tuesdays.
I know Tuesday.
I'm never free, so.
I can have a comment later. if you're-
Okay. Anything else, Sean?
Just one more comment, just an item from last month. I know we had difficulty trying to pass an ordinance, many motions. Just a reminder that if it's a document that we created, we do not have to send it forward. We can, just basically table it indefinitely. If it's something that we created, if the town council sends it back, sends it to us, we do need to move it forward. It says we have within 30 days in the law, to do that, which means we could actually table it for a month. And then the next month, which is in 30 days, recommend it then. So if we want to take a look at something a little longer, we can. So just a little training on that.
Thanks, Sean. Anyone else? Why, anything? Sarah? Ron, go ahead.
Sorry. So, I mean, we just sort of affirmed that we want the role as the planners and we want the planning and zoning job, like we really want to do that. We could have easily just passed it off and then, you know, could have been easy on us. I just really think we need to be planning ahead. I have a real frustration with the fact that we react to things that are coming down the pike or, you know, and it was okay when we were smaller, but as we grow, I think we really do need to sort of take control of the planning and zoning situation. If we want the job, let's actually plan. Let's not react. Let's not just, and let's get through getting the ordinance fixed as quick as we can so that we can look forward. I mean, if there's a structure for people, if our ordinances and what we want to do for land, if we know what that is, I mean, I promise, do we even know what we want for this town to look like? Who knows? I don't know what any of you think about that. I don't have a clue. And if we don't know, how are we looking ahead and making the ordinances work in a way that works long term? I mean, we've had so many debacles in the last year because our ordinances aren't clear, and I think it's because we don't, our vision's not clear, or at least our ability to function as a planning entity has not, we haven't realized that in a way that I think would be a lot more helpful to the town if we did.
So if you would like to see the vision, long-term, overview, whatever you want to call it, then you need to go.
No, no, that totally.
Hey, listen,
Well, you're not-
stop interrupting me. Stop. Let me finish.
Okay.
You need to go review the general plan. If the general plan is not sufficient, if you think it is lacking in areas, then you need to propose amendments to the general plan. Those amendments can be brought up, we can have public hearings on them, we can have discussions on them. And then we can submit them to the town council for, approval and amendments to our general plan. Okay, and then as for our ordinances, of course, we need just. We all have. We can all submit ordinances, we can all look at those changes, and I don't have any problem with doing it.
So, I know you're ready.
Go.
Okay,
Go
thank you. No, what I'm asking that we amend is our work ethic and the way that we run this body. Okay,
How,
Cameron, we need you to communicate better with all of us. We need to have things that we're working on and that we know in advance. We can't show up in a meeting and never having spoken to one another, or unless it's just a private phone call that we heard you got off the table. I mean, it needs to be run like we have a purpose. We're acting like rubber stampers, so we are rubber stamping. What we need to do is plan. So Cameron, I know you're super busy and I love you and I know I piss you off, but we need to coordinate, we need better communication between us, and we need to be looking ahead, and being proactive with what we choose to work on and assigning roles or whatever. And not that it takes away our own individual autonomy to put forth what we want, but it needs to be more coordinated for us to function as an effective body.
isn't that what we're doing right now, talking about things that we're.
But it's at the end of our meeting when we're all exhausted and we all want to go home.
Do you wanna do it in front of the meeting next week?
Well, you said we can't use it work, but we could have a meeting, and I don't want to ruin your schedule, but let's have a work meeting in between, let's make it an hour. Let's do something so that when we come to our next meeting, we've already done our work. Sorry, I know
No,
that's
you're
irritating, but
fine.
somebody's gotta give a
You're,
little bit.
we have scheduled one work meeting,
Which we canceled
which.
because the town clerk asked us to move it.
So you guys held that work. You guys didn't cancel it.
We didn't have a work meeting.
We didn't have a work meeting.
It was canceled.
No, we got, we.
It was right in that time when everything got changed and it was all.
Right when they told us we had to have a meeting to start at a certain time, it's just too much.
I have no problems with doing additional
You
things.
had a work meeting, Gene Kraus came in and did the whole minutes. There's like four
That's
minutes.
That was a different work meeting.
I'm saying you had a work meeting.
We had a work meeting.
A work meeting.
The other work meeting got canceled. I don't, I don't see that. We can have another work meeting. I don't know what you want to talk about in that work meeting. So,
Like, we have, work meeting to talk about what we should be talking about.
I'm not gonna have a meeting to talk about what we're gonna do in the next meeting.
No, not that, but what we should be focusing on. Not what we should be doing in this meeting. We already know that's pretty cut and dry, right? I just feel like Anyway, give it some thought, is all I'm saying.
If you want to have a work meeting on something, I have no problem with doing that. I may or may not be able to make it.
And I don't wanna make it harder.
And then you will share it because as the chair
You know.
pro tem or whatever, then you will share it if I can't make it, but we can have a work meeting. We just have to set it up. Like if you want it, say, hey, let's have a work meeting. Let's have some dates. And whatever we're gonna talk about.
Good,
I'm not working on anything right now, but I think we need a work meeting. And as far as like all the ordinances, the ordinance structure, unless it comes from unless it comes from city council, has been, we discuss it in a work meeting or in this meeting before it goes on a public hearing, and that's what we've been holding to. Except for ordinances that. I can't
I
name
like that intention.
I can't name a single ordinance that didn't come from, that came from one of us
That's true,
individually.
usually unless it comes lately,
Unless it
lately,
comes from the
unless it comes from.
Unless it comes from the town
Lately,
council.
that's true.
That's been that way since 2 years ago. And I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay.
Like we've been working on that. I just mentioned to Lauren earlier, we've been working on that access plan. We've been too busy to do anything else on it, but we've made it through the entire town. I will have that ready for us to look at the entire thing from our discussions. That was last year now, but I will get that ready to have on there. So we can look at that whole project in our next meeting. But other than that, I don't know what you want to work. I mean, you're working on chapter 60, and you are working on, you said you're gonna start working on a cliff top and hillside ordinance. That sounds great. If you want to set up a meeting to work on this too. Sure. We can do that. Go ahead, Nick.
When we're talking, we feel like we're just doing stuff, putting out fires, rather than being planners. And at least sometimes I feel that way. So I would agree that if we could, and I don't know legally, how we do this, or if we can do this, but if we can have a committee or me and Sean get together and you would talk about lighting or anybody that's interested in meetings or something, or assignments to send somebody to be in charge of something they feel strong about, like lighting or streets or whatever the case may be. Just looking forward to trying to put ourselves in a place where we try and get ahead a little bit sometimes of the pressure that seems to bear on us to deal with what's happening or happened or trying to happen. Making sense. So, and I don't know how we do that. I don't know the process of what the gap legally we can do as far as meeting. So without public, or maybe the public can be invited to that or something like that.
If you have
So
more than
any-
3 at the forum,
Any
you
meeting
have
is 3.
I only had 2 years and there were 3 people
So
talking.
so any meeting, we cannot have a quorum present, meaning we cannot have numbers present.
Okay.
So if a group of people want, if you and Sean want to get together and work on the lighting ordinance, that is fine.
Okay.
If you, Sean, and Bronwyn want to get together, that is, one of you has to leave.
Or we post.
Or we post it as and invite the public. That posting would have to be made 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Okay. 24?
But I agree that I think there's some creativity and ideas on the commission and in the town, that it's like having a committee for capital improvements or utilities to come up with some planning ideas, going down the road, whether that be lighting, bringing lighting up to date or adjusting it or strengthening what we have. Or other planning type of things. But it is time that, all of us, I think, are working, all of us have jobs. And so that's an issue, but at the same time, maybe there's a night or a weekend when a couple of us can get together and talk about it.
Can I ask,
Go ahead, Roman.
well, did I interrupt you?
No, he's done.
I understand, okay, good. How many? What about meeting with, what if we met with Jean and the mayor and just have like a, they can tell us what's coming down the pipe, they can tell us their, what they see as needs, I mean. You talk to Jean all the time, so you might have better perspective than the rest of us do, but the rest of us, yeah, again, like I said, I talk to him too sometimes.
I don't
He doesn't tell me.
stuff.
Anyways, I don't know why it doesn't want more work. I know, but I'm sorry. Work is hard working down and you. Now I'm old, so I have to, but. I don't know, guys. I just think. Could we talk to them?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to meet with the mayor. You could also set up a.
Would they agree that they came to? Or you want me to just go talk to them myself and then we talk to you?
Yeah, that would be better because they have. Well, it's better for everyone because they have their regularly scheduled meetings, so you can schedule with them to go to their meeting. That they have regularly. I think they have them weekly or bi-weekly and you can get whatever. Whatever information. That we need from that meeting.
Okay, I'm willing to do that, if that helps everybody, because I don't want to give you guys more to do. You know, you like more students if you don't.
But as for like. I am in general opposed to more meetings.
I know,
I've never said no to a first thing.
I wasn't
I
saying,
don't miss one.
all right, well,
Let's do it.
anyway.
I really feel like the town or the planning and zoning commission has been doing a fairly decent job at getting ahead of things, to be honest. The BLM property up there was some concern, like there's things. And I think a lot of times we feel like we're constantly putting out fires because every new project, someone has an issue with, and that's where the fire comes from, not necessarily from our ordinances. But from people's, well, I'm not saying our ordinances don't have issues.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to build a motel right next door to my house, I'm gonna have an issue with it. It may be okay with the ordinances, but I'm gonna start a fire because I don't like that. Does that make sense? So like with the STL or STR, for instance, there's people that affects that they don't like, but really our ordinances haven't had a chance to work in that way. Because there's no, the way that they, once they shut it off, they put the overlay zone, there's been nothing done with that ordinance since it was put in until just fairly recently. And then that caused a new flood amount of
Well,
fire.
that was a bad. Anyway, I see what you're saying.
So I really think that we feel like we're constantly putting out fires because someone, with each new project, someone has a new fire, a new issue with it. And so I think that's just part of the gig, honestly.
Right, I mean, I don't disagree, that is what starts fires, right? But I still don't know what you think the priorities for town development, and I don't know what kind of feedback you get from people and bring, I mean, I don't know how anybody does that. Except for Cameron, because he tells me
Sure.
This, actually, you might have.
I wish it was all forms first.
Oh, right?
That's not gonna happen. So,
Cameron, I have one comment.
Go ahead, Sean.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I second.
I have a second. Aye. Any further discussion?
Aye.
We'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, when's the meeting? When's the meeting you're telling me to go to?
The mayor zoning administrative meeting?
Yeah, when's the latest zoning administration?
That's on Thursday, that's the mayor and he's not a second.
See? Carolyn.
Yeah. If you get permission.